Are we set yet? Oh, so we're live.
Oh, yeah. Good. Mesdames et messieurs, chers compatriotes, chers Camerounais, bonsoir. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Cameroonians, good evening. Welcome to the first in a series of 4 20th May dialogues. Stand Up for Cameroon has decided to organize these dialogues to help us focus as Cameroonians on the key questions facing us as a nation. Bienvenue à la première d'une série de 4 dialogues du 20 mai. Stand Up for Cameroon organise ces dialogues afin de nous permettre, en tant que Camerounais, de nous recentrer sur les questions clés auxquelles fait face notre nation. Nous allons discuter ce soir à propos de la crise anglophone qui sévit dans notre pays depuis octobre 2016. Nous allons avoir des intervenants à cet effet du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest, ainsi que des Camerounais d'autres régions et de la diaspora. Nous parlerons alors des éléments clés et nous espérons générer des idées qui pourront nous permettre d'évoluer vers la résolution de la crise. Our discussion tonight will focus on the Anglophone crisis that is ongoing in our country since October 2016. We will hear from speakers in the Northwest and Southwest, as well as from those in other parts of Cameroon and abroad. We will discuss key elements, and we hope to gather elements that can help in the resolution of this very violent crisis. This discussion will start with 3 main speakers, and 3 respondents will follow. After about 45 minutes, the discussion will be open to the public for questions and contributions. After 1 hour, we will draw conclusions and key ideas from this discussion. Excuse me. A member of Stand Up for Cameroon will then conclude the evening. Don't forget, you can send your questions directly on Facebook or via the chat for those on Zoom. Nous allons discuter ce soir de la crise anglophone et la structure de cette discussion. Pour cela, nous allons avoir 3 principaux panélistes et 3 intervenants qui suivront. Après environ 45 minutes, la discussion sera ouverte au public pour des questions et contributions. Après 1 heure, nous allons tirer des conclusions et les idées clés de cette discussion. Un membre de Stand Up for Cameroon viendra alors conclure la soirée et vous pouvez envoyer vos questions directement par message Facebook ou encore dans le chat Zoom pour ceux qui y sont. Mesdames et messieurs, ceci étant, nous pouvons commencer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start. What is the Anglophone crisis about? Let's have an idea with a few key figures. The Anglophone crisis today is over 4,000 dead. It is 680,000 internally displaced persons and 50,000 refugees. It is over 100 villages burned. It is damages to commercial enterprises of over 40 billion CFA francs, and it is over 10,000 jobs lost in the formal sector. As you see, we cannot continue like this. No country can develop like this. No human society can allow these atrocities to continue. We must resolve the problem. This is why we are here tonight to contribute to that solution. Tel que je le disais en anglais, la crise anglophone, c'est un peu plus de 4000 morts. C'est près de 680 000 personnes internes déplacées et 50 000 réfugiés. C'est plus de 100 000 villages brûlés c'est des dommages aux entreprises de plus de 40 milliards de CFA et c'est plus de 10 000 emplois perdus à ce jour dans le secteur formel. Nous ne pouvons continuer comme cela. En fait, aucun pays ne peut se développer ainsi. Aucune société humaine ne peut permettre que de telles atrocités continuent. Nous devons trouver alors une solution à ce problème. Et c'est pour ça que nous sommes là ce soir, pour contribuer à la réflexion, contribuer à la recherche de la solution. Nous allons donc ouvrir le débat avec une personne, Mr. Congo Agbobala. You need no introduction. You are a household name in Cameroon. You are a lawyer, a human rights activist, and one of the key nonviolent leaders carrying the Anglophone cause forward. You helped organize the first protests. You were unjustly jailed for 8 months. You came out and you are still fighting for Anglophone rights. So, Barrister Agbobala, as I'm going to call you, what are the key political schools of thoughts active in the Anglophone region, and how do we reconcile them?
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this interesting discussion on the way forward on how to find a solution to what we're going through. We have very interesting introduction. We have a myriad school of opinion with regards to the crisis. Principally 3 schools: those who believe that an all-right separation would be the panacea, those who believe on a federation, and those who believe on a unitary state. These are the 3 principal ideological groupings in Anglophone Cameroon. We are where we are today. I think everybody knows why we are where we are, because of the inertia, the lethargy, the failure of the Ijobia government to address the fundamental issues that face the people of Southern Cameroon, to be willing to have an open discussion to address the issues that are plaguing us as a people. And because of the arrogance and disdain for the people, we have plunged ourselves into a senseless war, which could have been avoided. And this, if you follow up the events leading up to the conflict, to the armed conflict, I should say that, you would see that it was peaceful protests, lawyers, teachers, civil society, politicians also clamoring for rights, which nobody really wanted to talk to about it. They felt that they were superior beings. They felt that they did not owe us a duty of care to address these issues. They were arrogant. And as a result of that, the people felt that enough is enough, and it was time for them to seize the bull by the horns. And unfortunately, we are now in a situation where I think most of those in power, they are saying that had we known, we would have tried to find a solution. We have major players who are in government. I don't want to get into naming and shaming them. We have major players who are responsible for what we're going through, or where we are today. And hopefully this discussion will try to address some of these issues, provide solutions. On the way forward, we should rise beyond the blame game and then try to see how we can find lasting solutions, how we can get out of this situation. So that would be my introductory remarks.
Okay, thank you. I think we are having some problems with your connection because we're not having your video, but we can easily listen to you. Then let me ask you another question. How do you think, what could be the steps that need to be taken for a political reconciliation?
Well, we have 2 facets of reconciliation that would have to take place. And for those who have been following the crisis, and everybody on this panel, has been a keen observer of what is going on, we would need to have a reconciliation between the peoples of the Southern Cameroons themselves. The Anglophones will need to have a reconciliation. And I think that's why the whole idea of an all-Anglophone General Conference was very important, for us to address the myriad of problems, the differences that we have as a people, the hate and the blame game and the insults and the attacks. We cannot move forward as a people if we don't address these issues. And then we would also have to sit with the central government to try to see how we can address the fundamental issues. But we cannot address the fundamental issues without putting our house in order, without the different groupings in Anglophone Cameroon coming to a common consensus. We have things that bind us together. We have the issues of refugees. We have the issues of IDPs. We have the issues of kids not going to school. We have the issues of kidnapping. Each and every one across the board in Anglophone Cameroon agrees that these are problems that have to be addressed. Until when we address these issues, are we going to go to the core differences of whether it's a federation, whether it's a separation, whether it's a unitary state, But the first thing is for us to come together, to sit down, to disagree without being disagreeable, to in a typical West Cameroon or Southern Cameroonians manner, where people could argue, people could disagree, but after that share a drink at the Boya Mountain Club, for example, or at the Prime Minister's Lodge. We have to get to that situation. And if we need to find a political solution, we need to tone down on our hate language, on our intolerance, because there is nobody who is more Southern Cameroonians and Anglophone than the other. Even those who are in the ruling party, who believe in the unitary state, they are also Anglophones and they have a right. If we have to tone down our rhetoric and then try to look each other in the eyes in a very holistic manner, we would be able to start talking about us getting an inter-Anglophone or intra-Anglophone discussions to address these issues. Then we would need to have a political solution. Each and everyone would need to make concessions. It cannot be your way or the highway, because the position of government is their way or the highway. The position of some of those in the Anglophone community is their way or the highway. We will need to have a centric position. We will need to come in the middle and then, what is good for the people? The people we speak on their behalf, the people that we claim that we are represented, what do they want? But if they cannot get what they want, but how can we get something that will be agreeable? How can we get something that will end this spiral of violence, this kidnapping, this torture? How can we get something that would reduce the number of people who are internally displaced, the people who are refugees? Everybody on this panel, in one way or the other, is connected to somebody who is a victim. How can we, as a people, try to address these issues? What is the role of our representatives? We might complain about them, we might castigate them, but they have a role to play. All of us have to sit and talk to each other, not talking across each other, not insulting each other, but to try to find a way, get those of our sisters and brothers who are in partisan politics to talk and see how we can find a solution. Because the way we are going, there's no end. There's no end in sight. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. But it comes a point in time when the people said, enough is enough. Let us see how we can talk to each other. Government has a role to play, has a major role to play as the principal stakeholder. Government would have a role to play. Government will have to tone down its rhetoric. Government will have to come down from its high horse to accept that they made errors and to find solutions. Government would not always think that because they are government, they have to dictate the pace of the way it's going. I'd say no. They have to talk to the other parties. They have to talk to each and every one. They have to talk to us. They have to talk to the politicians and those in the private sector to see how we can come out of this situation.
Okay, thank you. I agree with you that, as you said, people should come together, to sit together and to agree and come out with common conclusions, common ideas, and so on. And you've named already that the government should be part of it, but looking at having a look in the West, Northwest and Southwest region, which groups do you think should also be part of this common gathering, this sitting around the chair, around the table to discuss?
It would include those who have taken up arms. Those who have not taken up arms also would have to be involved, because you cannot just glorify, or just because X has taken up arms would be on the table and Y has not taken up arms, Y would not be part of the discussion. Then you make Y to take up arms so that he or she would be involved in the discussion. You will need those who are involved in civil society organizations also, because they have the major role to play. Most of the humanitarian activities are being done by civil society organizations. COVID is plaguing the Southwest and the Northwest, just like other parts of the country, and the civil society organizations have been at the forefront. You need those who are involved in active politics also. You need the clergy. You need the business community. You know, we need to avoid this thing where a particular group of people think they are entitled to sit on the table, you know, so it will cut across. You have women, you have youth. Women have a major role to play in finding a solution. Don't forget, those who have taken up arms, those who are in government, who are fighting, they are children. They have the mothers, you know, so they would have to be involved in a very holistic manner. But also, it's not just about getting people, it's about intellectual political honesty. It's about us to accept that there is a problem and we need to find a solution, and that no one size will fit all, that no particular person has a monopoly of knowledge, that no particular person's own position is perfect. We have to take the best from all the myriad views and then try to see how we can come out with a position that is sustainable but also practical. We need to look at the geopolitics. We need to look at international relationship. We need to look at what is realistic in this world. There are things that I want, okay, but I cannot get it. And I have to understand that because I cannot get it because of the geopolitics and the reality, I'll have to make concession. Everybody who is coming there would have to make concession. And if we are not ready to make concession, then this cycle of violence would only continue. You know, it's high time that we as a people, we as an entity come together, but also with realistic goals. I have friends who represent all shades of opinion. And at times I have conversation with them. I said, no, some would say something. I'm like, you know what? For example, somebody justifies why we will live in a unitary state. I'm like, no, you're probably living in planet Mars. You are not in planet Earth. We have gone beyond that stage, for example. And I have friends who also think that independence is the panacea. I'm like, for the time being, and I use my words, for the time being, it's not the panacea. You look at the way the world is going, we need to be realistic. We need to be practical. We understand, and I acknowledge that a lot has been done against the people of the Southwest and the Northwest. A lot has been done against the people of the Southern Cameroon, but there is nothing that stops us from having a reconciliation. Amongst the people of Anglophone Cameroon, there are people who are bitter. If you're on social media, if you have private conversations, there are people who are bitter. The grievances against the people of the Southwest, against the Northwest, and vice versa, those in the CPDM, and some of us who are in the middle, you know, who are who are advocating for the rights of others, there are people who are bitter against us also. We need to sit down and talk and look at the things that unite us. Focus on these things that unite us for the time being, and we would settle our differences later.
Thank you very much for your speech, for your first point on this Anglophone crisis and how we can get out of it. We can say that we need to have people coming together because it's a common situation. So we need to sit together to discuss, to agree on what should be done, to have a common position and to see how we can have, to see ways out of this crisis. Now, I would like to introduce a second panelist, who is Mrs. Elizabeth Nkwa. She's She's a mother. She's a mother. She's a native of the Northwest region. And Miley, as I'm going to call you, you have been there throughout these 4 years. You are also a mother of the nation. You are an activist. You have been to Yaoundé and to Douala several times to march in protests of the crisis. So, Miley, you know the situation very well. With you, I'm going to talk about the socio-cultural reconciliation. How do you think we can get to the end of this crisis?
Good evening, fellow panelists and my country people.
Good evening.
As a mother, is bad and the other one is good. I always stand in the middle. And for the situation that is at hand now, I know my son Bala will not want to call names, but as a mother, I'll call names. I would like Chief Dr. Diongute to leave just for, say, 1 week, leave the Star Building to prison and meet the brothers and talk to them, then take them out to the field. The field meaning all the villages in the Southwest. Because when they come out and visit the fields, what has happened and how to correct them. I still repeat, I would like Chief Dr. Diongute to meet the Amazonians in prison led by Seseko Ayok Tabi, who are all they start from the culture, that is the custodians of the land, to whatever certificates they had after. Because I can remember that as a chief, a doctor knows what to do with the citizens. And if they have to visit our villages, towns in the Northwest and Southwest, the group without army, they will come back with a different view of what they have in their minds.
Okay, thank you. This was like a first message directly towards the government. So now let's go back to your own region, like to the situation, to the field. We know that a lot of violence have been perpetrated and people went to the bush and so on. How do you think these people can reconcile with the other that are still in villages? How are they going to be accepted by the population? Is it even possible?
It is very possible because we know them. Everybody in each village know the boys. But as I still repeat, they are having instructions not from the villagers, but from some other place. That is why I went first to say that the Chief Dion has to reconcile with the Amazonians in prison, then to bring them down to the field where they will call us for reconciliation. Even, let me give you one point. When we go to the DDR centers, when one boy goes to the DDR, 4 boys are joining the AMBA. Not because they are going there to defend any other cause, but to revenge what the person who has left for DDR has done to their own families. And these 2 people never started without a force ahead of them. We cannot reconcile without these two forces coming together. Whatever we talk about here, it will never go without Seseko Ayoktabe, the Chief Dion Gute, representing the government to reconcile. And I know that they are brothers. As Barrister Bala said, they are all Anglophones, and the reconciliation should start from them. They urge these boys to go into the bushes, and the army is led by some other person. So we have to reconcile this head, then we'll go down to the roots.
Now, as a mother, I would like us to have a special look at young women or at women. So do you think the roles of the women in the society are the same, or because of this violence, is there any change? And thinking about the resolution, how do you think these women can behave themselves in the society?
The women are highly traumatized. They don't even have right to mourn. Take note, most of the women are giving birth in the bushes. They don't enjoy any. So can you imagine that bush with children for this time, 4 years? The 4 years will never come back. Just take a child who was supposed to go to primary school 4 years ago. Today, he or she is 10 years. And if you have to take that child back to a primary school in Douala or Yaoundé to say it starts from class 1, it will be very difficult. So as a mother, we are talking of starting our lives again. And anybody should think of starting is to rebuild the West, especially for children and women. Because most of the women no longer go to their farms peacefully. They don't even go to the market peacefully. They go to the market in hiding, or that let's rush and come back because they may be firing and gunshots in the market. So we have to come down to this level to know that the village schools will no longer be the same schools that we had yesterday. There will be schools for adults. For all educationists, they know that the adult literacy is different from infant bring up. So for Northwest and Southwest, whether they are rebuilding schools, rebuilding maternities, rebuilding hospitals, they have to know how to deal with, they have to make a department for trauma.
Okay, thank you very much, Miley, for your contributions. We've seen that for you, no matter what solution on the field, it should start by the Prime Minister meeting Amazonian people to reconcile with them, so that on the ground, on the field, in the Northwest and Southwest regions, people feel free then to come out, to get out of the bush, to come back to the villages, and then to sit together and talk.
You have taken one part of the people out. You
Yes.
say the Prime Minister meeting with the Amazonian people. I said the prime minister meeting with the people from the northwest and southwest and those detained in prison.
Okay.
Because Agbobala is still part of the meeting.
Good.
The women on ground are still part of the meeting. The children are part of the meeting.
Great. Thank you very much, Maëlie. Donc, voilà, nous avons déjà pu constater avec nos deux premiers panélistes que la réconciliation politique est possible en réunissant tout le monde autour d'une table pour discuter. Et nous nous rendons compte également que cela est une condition même sur le terrain, de façon à amener et les femmes et les jeunes et ceux qui sont détenus en prison, de façon à ce que le processus soit inclusif et global. À présent, nous allons nous orienter vers notre troisième panéliste, Ms. Rebecca Enonchong. You are the founder and CEO of Appstec, which is an internationally renowned technology firm. You are also one of the strongest advocates for investment in African tech sector. The economy in the Northwest and Southwest, as we've seen already, is in shambles. So how do you think we can rebuild? How do we rehabilitate the situation?
I think that there's a precondition to rebuilding, which is the reconciliation. I think what Barrister Bala explained and Maëlie explained, which is that this dialogue has to happen, because we as a people, all of us are, you know, we've even lost our sense of identity. We went from being Cameroonians with a K to being Southern Cameroonians to being West Cameroonians to being Ambazonians to being, you know, at one point together, we need to sit down and really decide who we are, what our values are. Because I think that what has happened is that we've put, you know, the form of the state has become a goal, whereas the form of the state should just be a means to an end. And perhaps there are many different means to that end. So what is our vision? What are our values? What holds us together as a people? And are those values that different from our Francophone brothers? What are the differences? Are they just in our educational system, in our legal system, perhaps in our governance system, or are they deeper than that? So I think, you know, before any of this, and it's already started, so before we talk about developing economic development, we need to talk about human development. And we really need to come back to the core of who we are. Sit down, I'm a business person. You know, in a business, we do our vision statements, our mission statements. We look at how we would measure our progress. We look at the obstacles. Before we decide what the means are, we've already decided what our common vision is. Who are we as a people? Where do we want to go? What is the end result that we want for the citizens, for this nation, that could take the form of a state or of a country or of a, does it matter? Can we get to that end result by building our own system? You know, so I think that we get so caught up on putting people in boxes of federalism or a separatist or unitary state that we forget, that we start arguing over which of those systems is best. And best for who? Best for what? So really, I think a precondition to economic development is really sitting down as a family, as a unit, we're all so different, but we're similar, right? We can see on this panel, the diversity of voices that we have coming from our regions. And we need to take that and harness it and make the best of it. Rather than, fighting over, I feel like some of the people that are fighting over, oh, I will never this and I will never that. Well, you're not by yourself. And if you're fighting for yourself, and if you're fighting to be right, then yeah, good. Those are the people that are fighting for, I want this system or that system. Rather, I would really bring it back to humanity and say, okay, we have children that haven't been to school. What do we want for those children? And how can we achieve that? And what system will allow us to achieve it in the shortest time period? Once we have done that, then we can talk about and leapfrog using technology. We can do so much to catch up. I think if you take the example of Rwanda, that went from genocide, and if you look at the country today, you can see that when you have political will and when you're working towards a common vision, that you can catch up. So those years of education, we can catch up. Those buildings that were destroyed, those roads that weren't built, we can catch up. Those hospitals, we can catch up. But I think that without a common vision, and if we're not moving towards the same direction, it will be very difficult to do so. But again, technology is a great tool to enable us to leapfrog and to grow and to catch up on those years that we've lost as a community. But technology by itself, or development, economic development in a vacuum, won't help us achieve anything. We will have maybe buildings and roads that go to nowhere with no one to use them. So really, we need to focus on the preconditions. And I think that Barrister Agbobala and Maeli gave some very specific means and ways that we can get to that point. Once we're there, technology is a great tool. We've seen, for instance, we call it Silicon Mountain, which was the epicenter of the technology ecosystem in Cameroon. And we've seen that without any help from anyone, they were able to create jobs, and not just jobs, because what will happen is that, with all these economic development plans, they'll say, oh, we've created 10,000 jobs for youth, but what types of jobs were those jobs? Whereas technology, those are skilled jobs for which we have talent that are well paid and can really help us develop. But as I said, it was really very premature at this point to talk about economic development when we haven't dealt with the fundamental issues.
Okay, well, I feel like your preconditions is too clear, very understandable, but I'm a bit confused because, the government has already started the reconstruction on the ground without having these preconditions. What does that mean?
I think that okay, first of all, they got some funding. The French gave, I think, 60 million euro for this reconstruction. They're trying to show activity. And again, they're going about it the completely wrong way. And I think this is something that we've been crying about for so many years, is that they're fixing the wrong problem. The problem that we have isn't that we didn't have enough roads or buildings. The problems that we had were about our fundamental rights and our way of life. And I think that Maeli's very specific recommendation to our Prime Minister is to go to the prison, get Ayuk Tabe and go together onto the field and start having this conversation with everybody, including us. I think that's how we start. All of this, the reconstruction won't really solve anything. It's really putting a Band-Aid on, you know, a heart attack. So I think that it's really premature, and it's very unfortunate that there's a government that just doesn't want to listen, and you really wonder if they really want to solve this issue. But as was rightfully said, there are Anglophones in that government, just like us, and we're calling on their humanity to say, hey, please, we're your brothers and sisters, we're your children, we're your mothers and your parents, and please just take a very human, very pragmatic human approach to solving this issue. If you want this issue to be solved, there is a possibility to do so, but it will require dialogue. And that dialogue, I think this is a beginning of dialogue, because again, before we talk to government, it's really good at least that we have a common vision, a common mission, and at least know what we're trying to achieve. What is the end goal? And the end goal isn't a form of a state, right? That's just a means, one means to a goal. So what are our objectives? What are we looking for? And then once we have that construction of the foundation, then we can build, and we'll build so much faster, and we'll build so much stronger, and it will be so much more resilient, and it will really serve the people that it's meant to serve. But right now, I think it's very premature.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're going to take that as your last comment, and thank you for your contribution. Cher public, nous venons d'écouter nos 3 panélistes qui sont pratiquement monocordes. Ils seront cohérents entre eux. Je crois que l'image qui peut ressortir de ces 3 interventions, c'est que si nous voulons trouver une solution à la crise anglophone, il faudrait que les autorités du gouvernement décident ensemble de libérer, de prendre tous ceux qui sont actuellement en prison et d'aller avec ces personnes sur le terrain dans les régions anglophones et d'avoir une sorte de discussion, de conversation générale avec tout le peuple, avec toutes les parties prenantes, afin de définir une identité concrète de ce que nous souhaitons être en tant que peuple camerounais. Et à partir de là, nous pourrons déterminer notre direction. Un peu à l'image de ce que le peuple rwandais a réussi à faire après son génocide et à devenir ce qu'il est aujourd'hui. Je vais à présent permettre à nos autres intervenants de se prononcer sur l'un ou l'autre aspect de la question. Notamment, on va commencer peut-être par Dr. Foritia. You are a surgeon and the executive chairman of the CAFU Policy Institute, as well as the co-chair of the Denise and Lenora Foritia Foundation. You are among those who have worked tirelessly over the last few years to bring a solution to this crisis. So, as a respondent, you may ask questions, you may make contributions, or you may give a contrary opinion. So, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I've listened very keenly to Barrister Mbala, Becky Enonchong, and Ms. Nkwa, and all the very positive and strong comments that they've made regarding this conflict, this armed conflict. Now, we are in a very bad situation. I think saying we are in a very bad situation is really an understatement, because I would approach this from a very purely analytical position, not necessarily what I want, but some of the real realities that we are facing. and what I believe are really uphill struggles that we have to be able to overcome. There are a few realities that we have today as a result of what is the armed conflict in the southern Cameroon. The first reality is that the vast majority of the southern Cameroonians now have a profound gap between their vision of what society should be and what the government is actually doing. The last now 4 years have really widened this gap. And when the people decide to break with what is government, it becomes extremely, extremely difficult to make any progress whatsoever. And at the stage at which we find ourselves, that gap is widening. And it leads me to what I consider the second really important thing that has developed from this last 4 years. The second thing is that as of right now, this armed conflict has complicated too much that unilateral solutions will absolutely not suffice. These unilateral solutions could have been possible when Barrister Bala and Dr. Fontaine were really leading the cause. That was the right time for government to really intervene. That did not happen. We had our brother thrown in jail. And unfortunately, that sent a significant, it changed the view of many Southern Cameroonians on what the state should be doing and led to where we are today. And I would say that even when you look back, the abduction of Siseko Ayuk Tabe and his current imprisonment has led to the broadening of this conflict. And is the second thing that we must come to terms with, that without the abduction of Siseko Ayuk Tabe, you could have had a unipolar or at most bipolar mode of addressing this conflict. But as of right now, the conflict is so multipolar with many, many actors that it becomes extremely difficult for us to have any kind of reconciliation, any kind of solution, let alone a reconciliation, without really addressing these multipolar actors. And it ensures that for us to make any progress whatsoever, there is no way that would happen without negotiations. We are, and this is where I would disagree a little bit with Elizabeth Nkwa, because the situation is such that right now, I do not see a pathway where government and a few folks can actually solve this within the current Cameroon. It needs external support to be able to bridge this gap, because I don't think it is as easy as John Gute, which I don't think he will be able to, Prime Minister John Gute will be able to do this, to negotiate with Siseko and co and move to the steps. So I believe that there has to be all means put on the table to ensure that we can bring forth a serious, frank negotiation. Outside that, it becomes very difficult to see pathways, at least from our own analysis, and ways of building. There has to be some degree of trust in the state. But we also have to be cognizant of why government acts the way it does act. Because government is not acting because it does not know what the right solution is. Government acts based on what it considers its interest. And what Barrister Bala was trying to ask, what he thought was simple. Like, I know he wasn't naive, but the fact of asking for a federal system ensures that the current system that has been built for the past 38 plus years, 58 years, would have to crumble. And it becomes extremely difficult to see how the current players are going to allow Enam to no longer have the power that it has. We saw the other day where a simple deal was threatening a chief that if they don't align, the deal would remove the chief from being a chief. So things are much more complicated. But the initial step for us that I think is extremely important is that there has to be externally guaranteed negotiation as a start. And that at the end of the day, as Barrister Mbala and Becky Enochong have said, we would have to sit as Southern Cameroonians and figure out what is the optimal pathway for us. What is it we want concretely, and how do we get that? But okay, if we don't do that as a beginning, I think it would be extremely complicated.
Thank you very much, Dr. Foretia, because with you, we see that it's not only the preconditions of freeing people, having the discussion, but there is also how this negotiation or this reconciliation or this discussion is going to be facilitated, which is also a key challenge. Now, I would like to hand over to Madame Hemley Broom. Vous êtes écrivaine de renom, vous êtes une fierté camerounaise. Vous avez beaucoup écrit sur les violences dans l'histoire camerounaise, la guerre de l'indépendance, sur Boko Haram. Et vous avez particulièrement un regard sur cette crise qui secoue les fondements même de la nation camerounaise. À présent, je voudrais également vous passer la parole pour que vous puissiez soit faire votre contribution, soit poser votre question, soit avoir un avis contradictoire. Merci.
Merci à vous pour cette invitation. Je suis honorée en fait d'être là avec vous aujourd'hui et d'entendre ce que vous avez à dire. Je suis là aussi parce que j'avais envie de ça, d'entendre d'avoir en vos propres mots la réalité de ce qui se passait dans les régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest. Je me permets de parler en français. Je pourrais le faire en anglais, mais je me permets de parler en français parce que ça fait partie aussi de ce Cameroun-là et que cette histoire de langue qui nous sépare et qui crée tant de tensions, moi, je le vis avec énormément de dépit. C'est dommage que les langues qui devraient nous réunir et nous enrichir soient aujourd'hui des éléments de conflit entre nous. J'ai vu que j'étais la seule francophone invitée, j'en suis d'autant plus honorée. Et je vais me permettre de vous donner le sentiment que j'ai eu, moi, tout au long de cette crise, que je suis bien évidemment avec attention, que ce soit au début ou que ce soit au fur et à mesure qu'on entendait les choses catastrophiques qui nous ont été dites en début de réunion, toutes ces personnes déplacées, tous ces morts, tous ces villages brûlés, etc. Et au début, je me suis dit, non, c'est pas possible, il va se passer quelque chose. Évidemment, les revendications étaient parfaitement justifiées et il y avait des réponses simples à leur apporter. Les réponses n'ont pas été apportées. On a parlé d'arrogance, tout le monde a soulevé la question de l'arrogance aujourd'hui. Et ces revendications parfaitement légitimes ont eu des réponses qui ne correspondaient pas. Et ont donc généré une forme de colère qui aujourd'hui prend des proportions qui nous dépassent, en fait. Vous avez tous dit les uns les autres que nous arrivons à une situation inextricable parce que le conflit est multipolaire. On a parlé de réconciliation, mais j'ai aussi entendu beaucoup que vous parliez de réconciliation déjà à l'intérieur du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest, entre les différents protagonistes concernés, entre les différents courants idéologiques qui s'affrontent. Et vous sembliez mettre cette réconciliation-là en avant, de dire que si elle ne se fait pas, il devient plus difficile de se réconcilier avec le reste du Cameroun. Et j'ai trouvé ce point de vue intéressant parce que ce n'était pas le mien jusqu'ici. Pour moi, il s'agissait d'une réconciliation qui, de toute façon, doit nous concerner tous les Camerounais, pas simplement les Camerounais du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest et les Camerounais francophones ou du Nord, où qu'ils soient. Cette espèce de cloisonnement des luttes, à mon avis, et c'est ce que je dis dans mes romans, j'écris beaucoup sur l'interaction entre les histoires individuelles et la manière dont les histoires individuelles vont venir se fracasser sur l'histoire globale de notre pays, sur le silence qui l'entoure et sur toute l'ignorance dont elle se nourrit. Et je pense que si discussion il y a une discussion qui doit être globale, qui doit englober tout le monde, toutes les personnes de bonne volonté. Et je constate aussi que sur ce panel, nous sommes dans une sorte d'entre-soi, parce que quelque part, nous sommes un peu tous d'accord sur l'idée qu'on doit s'asseoir, on doit parler, on doit mettre ensemble des gens. D'autres personnes, peut-être, ne pensent pas de la même manière. Nous ne pouvons pas aussi ignorer qu'il y a une forme de cynisme politique. Une guerre n'est pas une catastrophe naturelle, une guerre, c'est une catastrophe humaine. Elle commence quelque part. Quelqu'un la commence, des gens la commencent. Pourquoi? Pourquoi commence-t-on une guerre? Pourquoi commence-t-on à agresser les gens? Et cette question a été longuement étudiée. Les guerres civiles, c'est l'idée de ramener le conflit sur sa propre terre. Aujourd'hui, nous voyons que dans les pays occidentaux qui font des guerres absolument partout dans le monde, ils ne viennent pas mettre des autres chez eux. Faire la guerre sur sa propre terre, ça complique tout, parce que du coup, on a affaire aux personnes dont Madame Ko a parlé tout à l'heure, qui se retrouvent dans la forêt avec leurs enfants, ou qui n'ont qu'une idée, c'est de se venger, ou comment est-ce qu'on récupère ça? Comment est-ce qu'on reconstruira les villages, on reconstruira les immeubles et les universités, comme le disait Rebecca, mais est-ce qu'on rendra la vie aux personnes qui sont mortes? Est-ce que nous pourrons revenir là-dessus? Est-ce que nous pourrons revenir sur le sentiment de solitude que les anglophones ont éprouvé quand ils ont eu l'impression que le reste du pays se détournait d'eux? Est-ce que nous pourrons reconstruire là-dessus? La question dont nous devons traiter, à mon sens, si nous devons parler de réconciliation, c'est comment est-ce que tous ensemble, nous allons pouvoir construire cette réconciliation. Et d'ailleurs, qui veut se réconcilier? Qui a intérêt à ce que les choses pourrissent? Pourquoi les choses continuent de pourrir? Ce conflit, après avoir occupé le Cameroun pendant des mois et des mois, 2 ans, 3 ans, aujourd'hui, il laisse la place à autre chose. Objectivement, c'est ce qui est en train de se passer avec le conflit anglophone. Aujourd'hui, après les élections qui sont parties dans tous les sens, aujourd'hui, nous avons une crise sanitaire extrêmement importante. Tous les jours dans notre pays et dans le monde entier, il arrive des choses qui repoussent encore la nécessité de s'asseoir et qui fait que finalement, les choses ne vont concerner que les personnes qui souffrent à l'intérieur. Est-ce que c'est ça que nous voulons laisser faire? La question, à mon sens, la vraie question l'esprit de ma participation aujourd'hui, après vous avoir tous écouté avec intérêt, c'est de me dire comment est-ce que nous allons ramener ce conflit sur la table, l'importance des négociations, de façon encore cynique. Je parle beaucoup de cynisme parce qu'il me semble qu'il y a énormément de cynisme qui s'applique de ce côté-là, qui s'applique par rapport à ce conflit. Vous savez, on parle de 4000 morts et c'est terrifiant. Je veux dire, il est aujourd'hui dans notre pays, on est quand même en train de dire qu'il y a 4000 personnes qui sont décédées et des centaines de milliers de personnes qui sont un peu partout, qui ont perdu leur chez eux, qui ne savent pas de quoi l'avenir sera fait. Donc, nous savons, vous et moi, qu'il y a des pays où il y a 10 000 morts, 1 million de morts et personne ne bouge, en fait. Ça ne change rien. Si nous ne prenons pas la mesure de ce qui est en train de nous arriver et si nous ne prenons pas nous-mêmes la décision de ramener les gens à une position plus raisonnable, alors rien ne se résoudra.
D'accord. Voilà. Merci beaucoup. Donc, je retiens que malgré la gravité de la situation, si le peuple que nous sommes ne prend pas la décision, ne prend pas sa responsabilité en main de se mobiliser, de dire qu'il faut que ça s'arrête, on pourra aller à des proportions plus graves encore.
Ça s'est vu ailleurs.
Voilà.
Ça s'est vu ailleurs et malheureusement, on connaît les résultats. On dit le Cameroun, c'est le Cameroun, mais il y a le monde. Et beaucoup de choses qui se passent chez nous sont déjà arrivées ailleurs. On peut aussi regarder ce qui s'est passé et l'analyser et voir quel enseignement nous pouvons en tirer. Je prends un exemple simple, celui des FARC en Colombie, qui étaient à la base pour le peuple et soutenus par le peuple. Ils ont fini comment? Ils ont fini dans les bois et au bout de dizaines d'années, un jour, je veux dire, le monde les a oubliés. Tout le monde a oublié, sauf les gens qui vivent là. Sauf les gens qui ont supporté cette souffrance, qui se sont fait agresser, qui ont continué de se faire agresser. Et ça, c'est un risque, c'est toujours un risque. Quels sont les intérêts en jeu? comment les analysons-nous et comment les prenons-nous, comment sommes-nous capables de nous en servir pour sortir de la situation dans laquelle nous sommes. Et surtout, qui est légitime, en fait, pour discuter. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, on dit le gouvernement doit discuter, etc. Il me semble que le grand absent de cette discussion, la personne dont tout le monde veut la présence, c'est bien le gouvernement, mais aussi tous les autres ne me semblent pas tellement capables non plus de désigner des personnes légitimes pour venir discuter clairement à une table. Ça aussi, ça pose problème. Comment est-ce que, dans ce cas, à qui on s'adresse? Il y a un vrai problème et il n'y a pas que les anglophones, le problème de la légitimité et des personnes avec lesquelles on peut discuter aujourd'hui au Cameroun est vraiment crucial.
D'accord, merci beaucoup. Donc, avant de passer à notre dernière intervenante, je voudrais préciser que, surtout à l'endroit du public, que c'est déjà possible de poser vos questions. Vous pouvez les poser, comme on le disait tantôt, soit sur le live Facebook, soit sur le chat Zoom pour ceux qui y sont. Donc, je vais donc passer la parole à notre dernière intervenante, Madame Mimi Mefo. Glad to have you.
Thank you,
an award-winning, yes, you are an award-winning journalist and currently working as an editor at Deutsche Welle, international broadcast in Germany, and as someone committed to fighting for press freedom in Cameroon, constantly demanding the release of journalists who are currently incarcerated. I would like also now to give you the floor to have your own view on the matter. Please, feel free.
Once again, good evening, and thank you so much for the organizers for bringing this platform to light and for also having me. I think that is a privilege and a very great opportunity for me to get to talk more about this crisis that my team and fellow journalists have been reporting about for more than 4 years now since the crisis further escalated. I have listened to all the panelists and they have been talking, and I really, really do feel sad about the situation that is going on in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon, because we are 4 years now into this conflict. This is the 4th year, of course. We are still counting. We don't know when this crisis is going to end. And deep down in us, though today most of us are talking about reconciliation and a way forward, we know deep down within us that a solution to this crisis is still very, very far-fetched. Far-fetched because of what's happening on the ground. We have reports on daily basis just today of how there is conflict, there is violence, gun battles, people unable to live their lives normally in their respective communities and localities. We keep reporting about a series of rights violations and abuses on daily basis. I cannot help but agree with all of you as well that everybody has a role to play as far as this conflict is concerned. We have individual role to play in ensuring that a lasting solution is found to this crisis that has hit the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. But one thing is very, very clear as well, that this is a crisis that concerns the people. It concerns, it only takes the people to put an end to the conflict. I'm not saying that an external power cannot come in and mediate this crisis, but how would somebody come and mediate the crisis when the people involved in this conflict are not talking, when they can't even sit on the table? There will be no place for a mediator if the warring factions or those who are fighting in this conflict are not involved in the dialogue. We can't talk about dialogue if they are not involved. Like I said, everybody has a role to play. And to be very, very candid, I think that we also know, honestly, that there is one person that can make this dialogue happen, and it is the government. So what I have to say would have to dwell a lot on the responsibility of the government, because they have the power to put an end to this conflict. They had the power to stop it when it just escalated, and they still have the power because it's not too late to put an end to this conflict. When we talk about reconciliation, like we just said, putting an end to the crisis, thinking about the way forward, talking peace, We have to think about, we have to first of all start with restitution. We have to first of all start talking about justice, and then we can start talking about reconciliation. I would be talking with examples. Before I start citing my examples, I would like to say that after reporting this conflict for close to 4 years now, since it started in 2016, there are two things that I noticed that it could be avoided since when it started in 2016, and there's still possibility that it can be avoided now, like I said earlier. And the second is the anger, the pain, the rage in the population in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. That continuous fear, that feeling that they don't belong, that feeling of stigma, that feeling of neglect, and that feeling of being abandoned by the powers that be would always remain on the minds of the people. Let me come to my example, which is the Ngabo incident, for instance. We reported a lot about what happened in the northwest region of Cameroon. That was on February 14th, how families were killed, were burnt alive, and we saw the damages that were incurred in that part of the country. We had recent reports of how soldiers who were involved are going to be tried and they're going to pay for the crimes that they committed. But what next? The question is, what happens to the community? What happens to the family that was affected? What steps has the government taken, or what measures has the government taken to ensure that these people are given the justice that they deserve? It's not just in the northwest region of Cameroon. We had a similar situation in the far north region of the country where women and babies were shot in broad daylight by soldiers. And this case was equally taken to court. It's been held behind closed doors. Nobody knows what's happening. And until we start taking responsibilities for actions and accepting that we have done what is wrong, an end to this crisis is still very, very far-fetched. Because when we are talking, we can't be talking about reconciliation when there is this hurt in the minds of people, because at any point in time, people would keep recalling how, if I'm the one as an individual, I'll keep remembering how my mother died, how my father was killed, how my younger brother or my younger sister was killed by the soldiers. And I don't even know what happened, whether the soldier was finally tried or the justice was rendered. So the question is, accepting, first of all, that there's a problem, accepting responsibility for crimes committed, and then we can start talking about reconciliation, because we cannot take the last step before the first or the second. We have to start, we have to move accordingly. And for the solutions to come, we have to put the right debates on the table and tackle the right questions. I would also want to talk about the media landscape that has been covering this crisis since it escalated. I talked about my role as a media practitioner and a journalist, and on several occasions we've been faced with the situation of we've been attacked either by the state or the non-state actors. The role of the journalist is to give the role of the journalist is to report what they see, and from without taking sides and from an objective point of view. And if you have a contrary view, it's your place as an individual to come up to the journalist and say, this is my point of view, and the journalist will possibly have to talk about it and look at the story from your perspective, not insulting, not trying to threaten or bully the journalist. But on several occasions, the media landscape in Cameroon has been suffering. Government actors have been threatening journalists, and even we have separatist fighters who have equally been threatening journalists, making it practically difficult for most of the stories, rights abuses ongoing in the Northwest and the Southwest regions of the country to go unreported. We have been talking about 3,000 deaths so far since, I think, June or May 2019. And up to now, these figures have not been updated. We have been talking about hundreds of thousands that have been displaced as a result of this conflict. I don't remember the last time these figures were updated, because access to the interior localities is almost impossible. We have been talking about refugees in neighboring Nigeria. We don't know about the situation at this point in time, what's happening to the refugees that are in Nigeria. The displaced in the Francophone regions, people go there for solidarity actions, we can see them. But what about those who are in the conflict-hit localities? Their stories are not being told. The rights abuses that are going on a daily basis, we don't know about what's happening, because journalists cannot go there, because even human rights activists cannot even go there to do their reports. So globally, I'm just trying to paint the picture of present the difficulties that journalists are facing on a daily basis to report this conflict, and also talk about the responsibility of the government, which is supposed to play a very vital role as far as putting an end to this conflict is concerned. My question is just one. How do we get out of here? That's the question. Because it's not just coming to talk on a platform like this one, talking about the conflict. Is how do we get out of the conflict, the way forward? That's what we should be talking about. And how do we make sure that the resolutions that are taken would actually be materialized, would be able to bear fruits, would be able to seek lasting solutions to the conflict that's ongoing in the Northwest and the Southwest regions of Cameroon? That's my question.
Good. Well, I would like to take your question and add to it some aspects so that I can come back to you, panelists and respondents. So what I would like to say is that we've been discussing like for more than 1 hour already about how we can get to the end of this crisis, so how we can get out of the crisis. And most of us have said that we need to get the government discussing with those people in prisons and so on. So now I would like to ask this question, which is, how do we get the government to the table? When I say we, this is Cameroonians. What should Cameroonians do to get the government on the table with the people in prisons, with the people on the field, with all Cameroonians, so that we can easily, as you said, have a process that will bear fruits of let's say, happiness, peace, and prosperity. And I would like first to ask this question to Madame Enonchong. And maybe to answer this question, I would like you to make as possible within 1 minute.
Okay. Okay. Could you just repeat the question? Just the last part of the question, please.
Okay. The question was, what should Cameroonians do to get the government to act?
I think we're expecting the government to do what it's never going to do. So I think if we wait around for government, we'll never get this done. Which is why I think most of us on this panel have said that let us get together and let us figure out what we want. And as one voice, Madame Hemley said earlier that qui sont les protagonistes, who do you talk to? We're not speaking as a voice. And what has happened is that the extremist voices have taken over. So those of us that may not be for total violence and for war, nobody's listening to us, nobody's hearing us, and nobody's hearing those voices that are on the ground. So I think that we're not going to wait for government. I think we need to take the future of our community, of our people, into our own hands, which means that we start conversations amongst ourselves. Mimi talked about the bullying that happens on both sides. So if you're not one and undivided, you get bullied. If you're not we need to kill these people and cut their heads off, you get bullied. So at one point, the bullies need to, we need to drown the bullies out and not have them drown us out. We have not been talking. We have not been working together. We have not been working as a community. And I think that that's how we start. We don't wait for government.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to push you a little bit against the wall. What should we do to come together concretely?
We start like with conversations like this, but next time include people that have more divergent views. Because, you know, it's one thing to say we're for dialogue and, oh, we want our own country, we're so much better than Francophones. Let's show it, right? Because from what I see so far, we're not proving to be any better than anybody else. You know, the infighting that's happening right now in the leadership is really, we're just exchanging one bad system for another bad system. And I don't want to be a part of that. I think that that having dialogue and frank discussions amongst ourselves, respectful, frank discussions amongst ourselves, where again, we haven't set an end goal, right? Our what we've decided is what we want as a people. And, you know, as Mimi said, you know, there are some very difficult discussions because yes, we can sit and blame the army and say they're horrible and, you know, so let's get out of Cameroon. Is that going to solve our problem? Is that going to bring peace? Is that going to tone down the trauma that's happening from a war that nobody chose, that the people that are living in it and are dying from it, they did not choose this war. They may not have chosen this course of action. So I think we owe it to them. And I think that only Agbarbala is on the ground right now. He's the only one of us, even on this panel, that's actually sitting in the middle of this. And so he should speak to this more. But there's so much selfishness that we need to come together, talk together, really decide what we want, and as a common voice, force government with the strength of our voice and our conviction, not with weapons, but with the strength of a unique one voice. Then we will force government to change. We're never going to, you know, they're never going to be the ones to come forward and do the right thing. I don't think so.
Okay, I just want to make a small precision that Maili as well is in Bamenda. So she's also on the art.
This is true, Maili. This is true. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
But now let me ask the same question to Barrister Bala. Like, because you said we need to get together, we need to organize those kind of dialogues, and we need to get other people with different views together so that we can actually increase our numbers and to force the government. Now, I would like to also, in 1 minute, listen to Barrister Bala, what he thinks the Cameroonians could do or should do to force the government to act. Barrister Bala, I'm afraid your microphone and your camera are off. So we do not listen to you. No, apparently he's not with us. I could have also asked the same question. Okay. But yes, now we see you and we hear you.
Can you see my black face?
Not only your black face, but your white beard as well.
See my white beard, huh? Okay, no, as I was saying, I said I concur with what Rebecca and Mimi and the others have said. The moderate voices must come together. Whether we like it or not, we can criticize the separatists from now till tomorrow, but they are united, even not in their leadership, but in their agenda, okay? They know how to fight. They know how to use social media to articulate their position and to vilify everybody who doesn't think like them. I give credit to them. It is necessary for those in the middle to come together and start speaking with one voice. Those in the middle, everybody does it alone. Everybody is doing his or her thing in his or her own way. It doesn't create an impact. You cannot just get only the government to come. You need to get the other forces together also. And the way we can do it, if we come together, we have the numbers, we have the voice. Take, for example, if somebody in the middle is doing a Facebook live show or a press conference, and 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people are following up, it shows. I have followed separatists who are on live and they call their other friends and those who support them to join. It means a lot. So we cannot only sit and criticize the separatists and criticize government that they have shown our voices, but what are we doing? It is very important that we start speaking this with one voice. We start working together. We start building the necessary coalition, building the necessary synergy, so that at least we can be a force to reckon with. The centric voice, to me, is the voice that is the voice of reason, is the voice that would come up with a solution to this conflict. But we cannot come up with a solution if we don't work together. Also, as Anglophones, we would need to be able to convince those of us, those who don't think that discussions and dialogue is the solution. There are people who are in the separatist movement who you can easily convince. There are those you cannot convince, and I understand, and I have respect for their opinion. And there are also those who believe in this unitary sham that you can convince and those you cannot convince. We need the numbers. We need to be able to be in a position where we can have a meeting. Unfortunately, government might not give us authorization to have a meeting, but it comes a point in time also that, you know, bad laws should not necessarily be respected. We need to find a way to circumvent some of these things, because if we are speaking on behalf of the people, if we have the people, the interests of the people at heart, then we need to find a way that we would come out from our various positions and protect the interests of the people. We can also do it by lobbying our friends, our network in the international community. This crisis cannot only be solved by those in Cameroon. I heard Mr. Forret, Dr. Forret, when he was speaking. The crisis has gone to a stage where we need friends of Cameroon. We need those who have Cameroon at heart. I am somebody who is against neocolonialism. I'm against imperialism. But it comes a point in time where you have to be honest enough to say, well, some of them have a role to play. You know, how can we involve them without necessarily them taking the lead, but working with them? We have people who live in some of these countries that the countries can have leverage on them. We have Cameroon doing business with some of the countries that can have leverage on the country. We have people who are friends of the president who have leverage on the president. We need to use all this network to ensure, to force the president and the government to come to the table. We need to use this network to force the separatist leaders also to come to the table. Travel bans, for example. You know, there are people in Cameroon who are ministers in this country that if you freeze their accounts abroad, if you prevent them from traveling, most of them always go abroad. I mean, COVID has made them to stay in this country for longer than expected. Most of them do go abroad.
If you have travel bans, for example, and their accounts are frozen, some of them will come to reason. We have people in the separatist movement who are living abroad and inciting violence. If, for example, actions, prosecutions being taken against them, they would have to talk. Let's be honest. We've looked at it. International criminal justice has been a tool to try to be used to find a solution. You know, I am not saying that X or Y should be prosecuted, but what I am saying, I used to work in an international tribunal in Sierra Leone, and we saw during the conflicts in Sierra Leone that all the parties who were involved in the conflict, they were prosecuted. Just like Mimi said, there have been heinous crimes committed by both parties to the conflict. You see, the thing is that people have been bullied that they are scared to say the truth. And we cannot come out of this crisis when we don't acknowledge the fact that both government and the separatists have committed heinous crimes. I agree that government has committed more crimes than others, but it's not justifiable for some of the crimes committed by the separatists. So if they can find a way, you know, a leverage, like you in government, you've incited violence, you are the one perpetuating these atrocities against the Anglophone, you will not travel abroad. Your account will be blocked. They would come to reason. You in the separatist movement, you cannot live in X Western country and you go on Facebook and you incite people to have people's hands to be chopped, to have people to be, people to be beheaded, you'll be prosecuted. They would tone down their rhetoric because nobody wants to be considered a war criminal. You know, nobody wants to be ostracized by the international community because if you're ostracized, you don't have any hiding place. So I think that we should use all the necessary leverage to bring both parties on the dialogue table, so that we can find a solution. But the moderates, let me round up, the moderates also should not be sleeping, should not be blaming government and separatists. They should wake up from their lethargy and they should learn how to work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that point. The moderates need to wake up, to be in numbers and to use all leverage possible. So now, since we have to be in numbers, I would like to come back to you, Madame Boum. Jusqu'ici, nous avons parlé de ce qu'il nous faut être plus nombreux que ça. Et il y a eu jusqu'ici un sentiment, et d'ailleurs vous l'avez relevé quand vous avez parlé de ces luttes dans des cloisons. Donc, vous avez évoqué cet élément-là. Et donc, l'idée ici, c'est comment est-ce que les francophones aussi peuvent être mobilisés de façon à ce que cette cause anglophone soit perçue comme une cause nationale qui amène donc le gouvernement qui se considère comme une entité nationale à bouger et à chercher des solutions pour que la paix revienne.
Je considère que votre question est cruciale parce que du coup, elle ouvre les choses au-delà de simplement ce qui est en train de se passer au nord-ouest et au sud-ouest du Cameroun. Elle ouvre les choses sur tous les...
Peut-être, excusez-moi de vous couper, peut-être je vais vous demander de parler un peu plus fort, peut-être d'augmenter...
Pardon, vous ne m'entendez pas.
Là, c'est mieux.
C'est mieux. Je disais que votre question est cruciale parce qu'elle ouvre au-delà du terrible conflit qu'il y a aujourd'hui dans le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest du Cameroun. Elle ouvre la porte sur tous les conflits que nous avons rencontrés finalement ces dernières décennies et nous constaterons que nous nous mobilisons très peu les uns pour les autres. C'est ce que j'appelle un cloisonnement de souffrance et donc un cloisonnement des luttes. Quand il y a eu Boko Haram, ça a été pareil. Le Nord s'est retrouvé tout seul pour faire face à cette situation, faire face à ce qui leur arrivait. Et au fond, on les a abandonnés à leur sort. Mais ce n'est pas neutre, on ne fait pas ça pour rien. On fait ça parce que nous avons été formés comme ça. On fait ça parce que nous sommes divisés à la base et que c'est divisé pour mieux régner. Je pense que ce que les uns et les autres sont en train de dire, que les personnes raisonnables, en fait, qui sont prêtes à discuter et à négocier devraient se mettre ensemble, ça n'a quasiment jamais eu lieu dans notre pays. Dans notre pays, lorsque nous avons des conflits, les extrêmes tirent chacun la couverture de son côté, et puis il y a une négociation, on ne sait pas où, Et les personnes qui sont concernées par le drame ou qui en ont souffert sont les oubliées de l'affaire. Et c'est aussi pour ça que les élites sont déconsidérées. Parce que dans toutes les communautés, que ce soit dans la zone anglophone ou dans la zone francophone, aujourd'hui, toutes les élites sont déconsidérées. Que ce soit les chefs, les chefs religieux, les chefs traditionnels, les hommes d'entreprise, les artistes, les politiciens, tout le monde, en fait. Il y a comment dire, une dissolution de la parole qui fait que tout se vaut. Mimi parlait de personnes qui viennent vous insulter. Quoi que vous disiez, quelqu'un vient vous insulter. En fait, quelle que soit la manière dont vous maîtrisez le sujet dont vous parlez, il y a toujours quelqu'un qui pense qu'on ne sait pas pourquoi il en sait mieux, il en sait plus que vous. Et ce qui est dans cette configuration, réconcilier les anglophones et les francophones, c'est vraiment une question clé et à la fois la grande difficulté. Je pense sincèrement que même si les anglophones du Nord et du Sud se réunissaient aujourd'hui et parlaient d'une égale voix, si on n'arrive pas à fédérer tout le pays sur ce qui est en train de se passer, ça ne fonctionnera pas, parce qu'ils ne seront pas assez nombreux pour influencer le gouvernement, qui, encore une fois, je disais tout à l'heure, à qui profitent les divisions. Il faut absolument que nous arrivions à nous mettre ensemble de façon plus globale que simplement aider les réfugiés qui sont devant votre porte ou qui fréquentent la même église que vous ou que vous connaissez parce que vous connaissez les familles depuis longtemps. Il faut quelque chose de plus global, de se dire est-ce que nous sommes prêts à lutter ensemble et dans quel cadre. Et malheureusement, ça ne concerne pas que ce conflit-là, ça concerne notre manière de fonctionner dans ce pays-là. Beaucoup de gens font un tas de choses au Cameroun. Beaucoup de francophones agissent pour les anglophones. Ils se battent, ils aident les réfugiés, mais chacun dans son coin, en fait. Pourquoi chacun dans son coin? Parce qu'il y a un doute sur l'agenda des uns et des autres. OK, je vais me mettre dans ce groupe, mais derrière, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Est-ce que je peux faire confiance? Comme disait Monsieur Albert Congo tout à l'heure, les extrémistes, eux, ils savent très bien où ils vont. Le désordre, c'est nous qui le subissons. Alors, vous me demandez comment mettre ensemble, comment est-ce qu'on peut réunir les uns et les autres dans ce conflit. Moi, je vois une chose très claire qui parle à tout le monde, c'est l'économie. Le fait que la région anglophone soit bloquée aujourd'hui, ça met en difficulté tout le pays. Ça contribue déjà à tous les efforts qui sont faits pour les guerres à gauche et à droite, les efforts qui vont être faits pour la pandémie, etc. Oui, ça, les gens peuvent comprendre que vous savez quoi, si ça ne se résout pas dans le nord-ouest, sud-ouest, eh bien, tout le pays en souffrira parce que vous perdrez vos emplois, on ne pourra plus payer d'impôts, etc. L'éducation. L'éducation dans le nord-ouest, sud-ouest, ce n'est pas que les anglophones qui y vont. Des tas de francophones ont plébiscité la manière que les anglophones avaient d'éduquer leurs enfants. Et ils ont envoyé en masse leurs enfants dans ces écoles. Aujourd'hui, c'est arrêté. Ce n'est pas que les enfants anglophones qui sont arrêtés, c'est tous les enfants francophones qui étaient dans cette logique. Leurs parents aussi voudraient que ça s'arrête. Il y a beaucoup de choses qui nous mettent en lien, et je ne parle même pas des aspects traditionnels, parce que ce soit le nord-ouest avec son lien avec l'ouest du Cameroun, ou que ce soit le sud-ouest dans toute la tradition sawa, est-ce qu'il y a moyen de se parler? Nous pouvons actionner tellement de choses. L'idée, c'est est-ce que nous avons envie? Est-ce que nous avons envie de nous mettre ensemble? Est-ce que nous sommes capables de faire confiance les uns aux autres sans commencer à réfléchir sans s'étendre à l'agenda, pourquoi, qui, il a fait ceci, il est corrompu, etc. Voilà, toutes ces misères dont nous souffrons tous. Or, il me semble que si nous n'arrivons pas à faire ce lien, là, et ce serait historique, moi je pense, de faire ce lien entre les souffrances que traverse le peuple anglophone et la manière dont les francophones peuvent s'y intégrer et participer aux solutions, parce que ce qui arrive là est susceptible d'arriver partout. En fait, toutes ces lignes de faille qui minent notre pays, là, ça a explosé dans la région anglophone, mais c'est absolument susceptible d'exploser partout. Parce que toutes les colères sont là, la rage est là, et aussi la méfiance et l'absence de confiance dans ce qui est en train de se mettre en place.
D'accord, mais je voulais rebondir directement en disant qu'on a, au début de cette crise, et même pendant un certain temps, juste après l'avènement, on a entendu beaucoup de voix du côté des francophones dire que ils ne sont pas concernés ou bien que les anglophones l'ont cherché, donc à eux de pouvoir assumer.
C'est terrible. C'est terrible et c'est en même temps, quand on voit comment on fonctionne, quel est le problème qui s'est passé quelque part et les autres se sont sentis concernés, finalement. En même temps, c'est une manière de... et en plus, c'est ridicule parce que ça arrive partout. Il y a des foyers qui se sont allumés, il y a des foyers qui sont susceptibles de s'allumer. Potentiellement, le feu peut prendre partout. Si nous n'apprenons pas à nous arrêter pour trouver des solutions, si nous n'apprenons pas finalement à couvrir de voies raisonnables les extrêmes qui sont toujours disposés à se saisir de ce type de solution, eh bien, nous n'y arriverons pas, mais nous n'y arriverons nulle part, pas simplement chez les anglophones, nous n'y arriverons nulle part. Et c'est ça, en fait, la problématique aujourd'hui que j'ai levé, et de dire, aujourd'hui, c'est vous. Hier, c'était l'extrême nord. Demain, ce sera qui? Et il y aura un demain. Il y aura, parti comme nous sommes partis, il y aura un demain.
Exactement. Merci, merci. Now I would like to go to Dr. Foritia. In his speech, Barrister Bala said we need to have friends of Cameroon. And you talked about external bodies that could be involved in the process of reconciliating all Cameroonians. So I would like to know which external bodies were you talking about?
Thank you very much. Now, I think I have to disagree a little bit with the last speaker, Ms. Hemley, regarding the fact that the situation that we are living today did not happen. Like we have folks who have picked up arms. So we are talking about an armed conflict. It's no longer a conflict where we are just shouting with each other to figure out, who can shout more. We are talking about a conflict now that, you have, let's say you have two brothers. They've all decided to go home and remove their cutlasses, their machetes. They've taken cutlasses. They all hold cutlasses. And you are in the middle, you don't have a cutlass. Now you are telling them to put down their cutlasses, and both of them are telling you they will not do that. And they are coming to cut the other, and you are standing in the middle. You realize that you have to run if you want to survive, because they are cutting each other down. So that's the reason why, because of the fact that this conflict has transformed. This conflict is no longer like we sitting around a table and disagreeing just for pleasure. These are people who have weapons and they are disagreeing. So if you don't have a way of making them put their weapons down, short of screaming, they will continue to do it. And that's exactly what we see. So yes, I am for us figuring out ways of bringing those two parties to the table. But if your two brothers are fighting and you go get your dad to say, these two brothers are fighting and they have machetes, and the dad comes and the dad cannot bring them to stop, to put the machetes down, the dad may go find an uncle and say, you know what, let's bring our forces, let's even bring the biggest machete, and that way they will see that our machete is the biggest machete, and they will all keep their own machetes down. So the point I'm making is that we are dealing with an armed conflict, and it's no longer us putting ourselves together and saying we want to scream. It ain't going to do any difference. It's not going to make the person who has a weapon stop down. Now we have to figure out ways of getting people who have the means of pressuring those people who have the matches and the guns to put the weapons down. If we to put the weapons down and sit on the table to negotiate. If we say we are going to put ourselves together and we scream for separatists and restorationist leaders to put their guns down, or scream for government to put their guns down, that has been happening for the past 3 years. Have they decided to put their guns down? It's not going to happen. No other conflict in the world happens where we have an armed conflict and they unilaterally or voluntarily drop their weapons down. 90% of armed conflicts are negotiated to an end. 90% is already at that point. So the important thing for us right now is we have to figure out there are two ways that would happen for us to to bring the parties to the negotiating table. One is, and it's always economic. Now, the separatists have a strategy, and the strategy is that they will bring the government to negotiate based on the fact that the state is weak, and they are pursuing economic sabotage, and they are doing that, and we already see what's happening. And the COVID pandemic now is making the situation worse, and the rest of the country is feeling the pain. It's in line with what armed conflicts do all over the world, especially armed conflicts that are for liberation struggle. So the state will be compelled to negotiate when it doesn't have the means anymore. And that's the strategy that you see that the restorationist fighters, and that's the strategy that has been put in place. The other way that would happen is if you have big brothers and big sisters who can put pressure on both sides for them to sit down and talk. And this is where our strategy needs to focus, is to get the big brothers and big sisters around the world who have the means to compel both parties to negotiate. And at the current moment, the international community and the Cameroon government, they have what I describe as a weird relationship. The Cameroon government is not ready for a federal system, and the international community is not ready to accept the possibility of an Ambazonia. So both of them, they have a mutual relationship right now that they don't do as much each other. The government does a little bit of things, and it allows the international community to also, and continue to give the impression of doing something serious. But until the tipping point is reached, this negotiation is not going to happen. So we have to figure out a way of getting the international community. And I think this is what we should do. We should find a way of pressuring the international community to force the government to negotiate, and the international and the separatist leaders to negotiate. Absence of that, the only time that negotiation will happen is when the state is weak and very weak to be able to provide social services. And that's where I think for the vast majority of our work, and the work that needs to be done, is to get the international community to use the stick. It's the time for the stick. It's not yes. Time for us to be screaming. It's a time for us to figure out ways of forcing the people who have weapons to come to put the weapons outside and get in the negotiation table and negotiate. If we don't do that, we are in a big. We will continue to talk about this for a few more years.
Dr. Forecha, I don't want to interrupt you, but you two, I want to push you a little bit. Well, when you talk of international community, or even the big brothers, we've seen a lot of lobbying being done at the level of the Security Council. We've seen the Swiss dialogue with the different parties, but nothing from that were really satisfactory, conclusive. What should be done then, from your point of view? What should be what should be done above and beyond, so that we have different results than what we've seen already?
So, when you talk with the folks who are at the front line and engage in these processes, right now, the international community does not believe that the tipping point has been reached. So they are not ready to engage to implement potential outcomes of a negotiation that is beyond a federal system, or a system where Southern Cameroonians they can decide on the thing. So there are potential outcomes. The Cameroon government is absolutely against a federal system, and they would have a separate. They would support an Ambazonia. The current people in government, they would support an Ambazonia before they support the federal system, because the federal system in Cameroon is so disruptive, and it's similar to what we saw in Sudan. the fact that the Sudanese government could rather, accept South Sudan to form rather than federate, because it changes the full nature of the state, and the current players have zero interest in that. But the international community, as of right now, the Americans, the European Union, have not, they have accepted the possibility of an Ambazonia, but they are not ready to really force a negotiation to a point where, they'll consider the possibility of that. And I, we can talk about this more, and we have diverse views on stuff like this, but what we have to do is to figure out how to force the two players, the main people, to start this negotiation. It has to start with them. If it doesn't start with them, we will continue to have these conversations, but it will not move forward.
Very much. Dr. Faurecia. Donc, pour faire un point sur la discussion, ça fait déjà un peu plus de 2 heures que nous sommes ensemble et nous nous rendons compte de ce que pour apporter une résolution à la crise, on est graduellement parti de l'idée d'avoir tout le monde réuni autour d'une table pour discuter, trouver une solution, et on s'est dit que, mais pour amener le gouvernement à accepter de se réunir autour d'une table avec les autres acteurs, il faut qu'il y ait plus de pression qui vienne du peuple. Donc, il faut que le peuple se réunisse, que le peuple fasse corps, qu'on soit dans un effectif, dans une sorte de masse critique pour que cela puisse arriver. Mais aussi, on se rend compte que parfois, ce n'est pas suffisant. Il faut donc qu'il y ait une pression extérieure qui vient des acteurs qui sont puissants, notamment la communauté internationale et puis d'autres unités, d'autres institutions spécifiques comme le Conseil de sécurité, avec plus de pression sur le gouvernement. Voilà relativement ce que nous avons déjà pu identifier jusqu'ici comme approche, comme démarche pour qu'on puisse arriver à aboutir à une situation où on entame même la réconciliation à la fois politique, économique, socio-culturelle au Cameroun. Donc, ceci dit, je vais, puisqu'on évolue déjà vers la fin, on va peut-être prendre un dernier round de parole à chacun des intervenants pour qu'en 1 minute maximum, que chacun puisse dire quelque chose avant qu'on introduise le dernier intervenant qui viendra faire le point pour le compte de Stand Up for Cameroon. So before we move to the end of this discussion, I will then open the last round of speech to each of our panelists so that each of them can give in 1 minute the last word they think they can have to add anything to say to the discussion. So maybe let's start with Mimi.
You're muted. You're on mute. Mimi, you're on mute.
Yeah, yes. Sorry. Once more, thank you so much for the opportunity. 1 minute is not going to be enough for me to talk about all the things that I have to say, but I will be brief and straight to the point. Having listened to Rebecca and Barrister Agbopala and the others, I noticed that we are some sort of trying to propose what happened in Rwanda when we saw the genocide that happened in the country, the putting in place of the community Gashasha courts, where justice was being implemented at the level of the grassroots communities. I'm looking at the possibility of this happening in Cameroon, where we will start the discussion, or the people will start the discussion among themselves to see how to solve this problem without the government, because we know that the government has the key to the solution to this conflict that is ongoing in Cameroon. You would bear with me that if this conference was not visual, if it was not online, it would not happen in Cameroon. We saw what happened with the All Anglophone Conference, and we've seen what has been happening with political meetings or any other thing that is happening in the country, and even simple protests in the conflict-hit northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. It would not happen because, I don't know, for some reasons, it seems to be some sort of threat to the government. Is that possible for it to happen? For the people to decide that we can solve this problem on our own, like you said, with the current system in place, with the current regime in place, with the government that we have in place, the government that is not even accepting the existence of a problem, with a government that is not even ready to ensure that there is justice, with a government that is would only come once in a while after suffering or undergoing domestic and international pressure to come and say, yes, our soldiers were responsible for committing these atrocities. What about the other atrocities that have been committed? That is my worry, and I will continue to ask that question because we receive these questions on daily basis, inbox, on our Facebook page, on WhatsApp, on daily basis, and even on Twitter, and we don't have answers to this question. Another issue that I would want to raise is the fact that everybody has to understand that there is a neutral side to this conflict. There are people that do not want to belong. They just want peace. They just want the ongoing conflict to end. It doesn't mean that if they say, okay, what the government is doing is bad, they are supporting the Ambazonian fighters. It doesn't mean that if they say the atrocities committed by the Ambazonian fighters is too much, it means they're supporting the government, because they are being labeled as blacklegs or enablers when they get to talk about Ambazonian atrocities, and they are labeled terrorists when they get to talk about atrocities committed by government forces. So is there some sort of, because this neutral voice exists, they are not federalists, they are not even unionists, they are not pro-secessionists, they don't want independence, they just want peace, they just want their lives to return back to normal. Is there any possibility that they can also be given a voice to be listened to, that they can get to air their own grievances and talk? Is there a platform for them? That is another worry that I have on my mind. Another issue too is, like I was talking about, ensuring that everybody is given that platform to talk and give the opportunity for everybody to express themselves. It's very, very important. I was actually jotting all my points when you were talking to make sure that I don't forget anything. I know I have just 1 minute. And one thing that we should know is a fact. The government has the responsibility to protect the citizens. Atrocities are being committed by the government and also the pro-independence fighters. But when it comes to protection of the population, the government has that responsibility to do so. But what I see on the ground is an issue of a battle between the government and pro-independence fighters as to who has committed a crime. It's like a competition. No, the separatist fighters were responsible. No, the government was responsible. And at this point in time, when the journalist comes in to report, it becomes your issue, because they would say you've taken side with the separatists, or the government, separatists would say you've taken side with the government. It's so difficult. The point I'm trying to raise, so that I shouldn't miss my point, was that it becomes very, very difficult for the realities on the ground to come out, and the government forces who are there, the gendarmes, the police, the DOs who are there on the ground in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon have to understand that their role is to protect the citizens. Like what happened in Moyoka when a child was shot dead in front of the mother. I always like to talk with examples, because communities are suffering. We have cases, we have examples on the ground. Up to now, we don't know what happened. And the mother has possibly, I just have a few seconds, the mother has possibly disappeared. What happened to this family that is still suffering that hurt of a child that was lost? It became an issue when journalists reported. Others were threatened, others were almost arrested because they told the truth to this story. So it's a whole component of issues that comes together. And I don't think that we can we can come up with a solution in just one day. We have to be very, very honest. We have to be able to provide, to propose, make these recommendations. But where do we take these recommendations to? How do they materialize? That is my question. How is it possible for it to become reality, to ensure that there is peace in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon? That remains my question.
Thank you, Mimi. I would like to say thank you for having on the table the interests of the communities.
Yes, of course. Thank you too.
You're welcome. Now I would like to hand over to Madame Inonchong in as possible, if you can.
No, I'll keep it short. I'll keep it short. I think that to answer many of the concerns and many of the points that were brought here, when you have a strong voice, and that voice is a united voice, and it's a loud voice, it is a force to be reckoned with. And I think that when we're talking about putting pressure on the government to do what it should be doing anyway, we're talking about one form of pressure. And I think that what we can control, there are so many things that we're not able to control. That is, we're not able to control the fighters on the ground. We're not able to control the military. We're not able to control the government. What we can do is control our own voices and make sure that we are using our voices for strong. I remember when the internet was cut off in Cameroon, in our part of Cameroon, for 93 days. And I remember how we were able to take that message and put it out for the world to put pressure on our government. But it was our voice. It wasn't something that came from outside. It wasn't something, it really was our voice. We're capable of this. So I don't think we should underestimate the power that we have. And Mimi, you're so right. We never would have been able to have this meeting. So Corona gave us one good thing, is that we're now using technology in order to communicate. And we can have this today, just 6, tomorrow 60, 600. Let's start having these conversations. We have so much power that we're not using. And as far as the international community, they will never solve our problems, ever, ever. Especially since they don't know who to talk to. You know, it really puzzles me. I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing unionists and separatists tag the international community and insult them. And I'm like, you are calling them all sorts of names. And then you're saying that, why aren't you helping us? Why aren't you? Look at how you're, so there's a credibility problem in our community. When you take fake pictures and you tag a gazillion people with fake photographs of, that came from another conflict, and, you lose credibility. And so that's what we need to do. And that's why we are important, because we can bring that message to the international community in a more unified, in a more structured manner. And then that international community can then put the pressure on our government. But that's how I really see it happening. But we cannot step back and say, well, the government is bad. We have to wait for them to get their act together, or wait for the international community to come and solve our problems. It will never happen.
Thank you very much. Because I just want to say that we are more than 300 now. You've talked about being 6 or 260 and...
No. I was saying in the conversation. In the conversation.
Well, maybe let's say in a written conversation, we have 300 people chatting on the Facebook chat. They are very active now. Thank you. So let me hand over to Barrister Congo.
Unfortunately, times.
Yeah, I know Mimi took all my time.
Also, I know, in 1 minute.
Yeah, Mimi took all my time. It's hard to have a lawyer a lawyer from Manu Division to talk for 1 minute, okay? But I would try as much as possible.
I knew it.
I will talk for 30 seconds. No, just as a resume, you know, we have the numbers, just like what Rebecca has said. We need to build synergy across the board. And this is not just for Anglophones, but moderate voices in the Francophone community. You know, I've benefited from the support of the Francophone community, especially the lawyers, the Claude Asiras, the Maîtres team, the Dokas, the Yolans, the Chakunte Party, and the rest, you know, and Michel Ndoki and co. They defended us whilst in jail, Professor Kamto also, and they are defending Seseko Ayub Tabe and others. So we can build from that, you know. I remember when we were always going to court. I mean, the people of Stand Up for Cameroon, they were always there, and other civil society organizations, Maximilian Gombe and co. So how do we build that synergy across the board? The other lady was speaking, and this is something that we have to do, because when you look at your conflict or you struggle as isolated from the whole, that becomes a problem. Don't forget the famous saying, when they came for the communists, I was no communist, I did nothing. They came for the Protestants, I did nothing. They came for the Jews, I did nothing. And when they came for me, no one was there to speak for me. So we have to be in the position where we look at this problem from a very holistic angle. If we can link up with forces in the north, in the east, you know, in the center, in the south, we can put pressure on the government. Like what Mimi said, I will be blunt, okay? We are being ruled by, I like to give example of Fela Ransom Kuti, the icon, the musical icon. He has a music Egypt 86 band that he called Zombie. Zombie will only take orders. Some of the people who are our leaders, our ministers, they behave like zombies, okay? They are zombies in human clothing. They don't think, they don't reflect. They are only there to oppress, to suppress, and to marginalize the people. But we need to fight this zombinization of government. And we, the people, have the power. We cannot allow them to always suppress us, okay? They don't have any right to be Cameroonians more than us. All of us have a vested interest in this country. And if we allow them to be zombinizing us, we would have no voice. So the moderate voices in Anglophone and Francophone Cameroon should sit up, should stand up, should fight for them. Because if we don't do, nobody would do. But also, I would go for that than what Rebecca said. These people are scared of the international community. The pressure from the international community works, okay? We know about the release of prisoners that has come from the international community. We know about the Ngabu report, okay? That came from pressure from the international community. If it was left to the people ruling us in this country, they would not have come out with any report. Or if they came out with a report, it would be a very watered down report. So, but we need to give them the real facts. We need to work with them. We don't want the international community to take control of us, of this country. I would not support it. But I think that, just like what Foretia was saying, you need some third party to try to bring both parties together, to try to see that they can work together. And lastly, both parties should put the Cameroonian public at heart. The government and the separatist leaders should put the interests of the people at heart. If you put the interests of the people at heart, you would at least try to eschew your ego, because it's also kind of an ego play what is happening, okay? How do we put our house in order? I just want to be a leader. I don't care how many people die, you know. I want to use some of their pictures to gather support. You know, that's the mindset of the people. We need to ensure that the leaders of both groupings think about the population, think about the innocent civilians, think about the women who have been raped, think about the women. We're getting into rainy season. Think about those who are living in the bushes, those kids who cannot afford a meal, the businesses which have been shut down as a result of the struggle. If we think about them, if we put their interests ahead of our interests, then we will be able to talk to the other party. It's no sign of weakness when you talk to the other party. It's a sign of strength. You rise above the other party. Don't mind the provocations from some of the surrogates of the regime that, well, you are talking because you've been defeated. No, okay? You need to talk because you love your people. And like Mimi said, the principal responsibility of government is to protect. Protection of civilian is a cardinal objective of a government, just like the United Nations. So whether you blame the separatists or not for killing people, for kidnapping, it's as a result of the failure of the government, because the government is failing to protect the civilian population. We want a government. We need our government to protect the people. And you cannot protect the people when you are zombinizing the people, when you don't allow freedom of speech, when you don't allow freedom of expression, and you don't allow people to meet. Thanks to COVID-19, thanks to Zoom, we can meet, we can discuss taboo subjects. You know, I know they can accuse us of inciting violence or terrorism as per their 2014 law, but who cares? We're doing it because of the love of the country. We're doing it because of the love of the people. And no regime would last forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Bala. Now, let me hand over to you, Dr. Horotia.
Well, I think Barrister Nkongo and Becky Nonchong and everyone else, they've said it. If we put our voices together and speak in very strong voices and get the international community to listen, hear us, and be authentic, we can get them to put pressure on our government for our government to do what it needs to do. So I continue to support all the avenues that ensures that we put pressure on government to act responsibly and to ensure that this doesn't continue to degenerate. But I think it's very important right now, given the fact that we have people toting guns all over the place, to be able to really get our friends of Cameroon to put pressure on both parties to sit on the table.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very good. Now, I would hand over to Madame Boum pour son dernier mot de la fin.
D'accord, je vais essayer d'être brève. Je suis évidemment en accord avec tout ce qui a été dit auparavant. Je voudrais simplement souligner que nous avons une histoire, nous avons une longue histoire de conflits armés. Ça n'est pas le premier qui arrive au Cameroun, et ce n'est pas, comme disait M. Forestia, la première fois que des frères ennemis essaient de s'entretuer avec des gens au milieu d'eux. Nous avons une histoire et nous ne devons pas nous devons en prendre leçon, je pense. Il ne s'agit pas de ghettoiser ce conflit parce que ça ne lui rend pas service, ça ne rend service à personne. Il y a des personnes aussi à l'intérieur, les extrémistes dont on a parlé, qui ont intérêt à ce que les choses soient ghettoisées. Il serait intéressant pour nous de voir de quelle manière nous pouvons faire jouer nos liens et nos forces vives et toutes les choses qui nous réunissent. Il y a énormément de choses qui nous réunissent, que ce soit dans la zone francophone, dans la zone anglophone, du sud-ouest au nord-ouest. Il y a plus de choses qui nous réunissent que ce qui nous divise. Aujourd'hui, ce qu'on met en avant, ce qui nous sépare et ce qui nous interdit de participer à ce combat global, c'est plus ces choses qui nous séparent de façon artificielle. Il est important de se mettre ensemble. Il est important que les francophones et les anglophones se mettent ensemble. Nous avons une longue histoire commune et cette histoire et ce qui est en train d'arriver est à la fois une conséquence de cette histoire et elle se déroule, ce conflit-là se déroule comme les autres se sont déroulés. Si ce n'est que ça a plus de violence parce que les armes sont plus importantes, parce qu'on a les réseaux sociaux et toute cette haine qui se déverse sans discernement. Mais ces conflits-là, nous les avons déjà vécus. À un moment ou à un autre, il faudra que quelque part nous nous inscrivions dans notre histoire commune et que nous en tirions leçon, tous autant que nous sommes. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Maintenant, je crois qu'on va s'acheminer vers la dernière articulation de cette discussion. Dear panelists, respondents, remember during the introduction to this discussion, I said that at the end, we will have a conclusion that will be made by someone from Stand Up for Cameroon, who is going to give us to draw conclusions of what we've discussed so far. I just want to let us know that unfortunately we lost Miley, who is coming back. Oh, good, she's there. And then she can also give us her last word. Miley, are you there? Your microphone is muted, is off, and your camera as well. So please, if you hear me, put your microphone on and then just give us your last word, your last comment for this discussion. Okay, your microphone is on already, but we're not listening to you. So maybe we will come back to you afterwards. So as I was saying, we will introduce a member of Stand Up for Cameroon who's going to give us...
I'm sorry, work was off. So I don't,
okay. So yes, go ahead.
Okay. I got the last words from Barrister Abala and the rest, and they were all talking about the international community, which I don't say no, but I feel that we should build up ourselves to the fact that we can work on ourselves than thinking always of a third party. We are matured enough to think that we can come up with solutions to rebuild our nation. There's nothing impossible with us. Britain has never come here to stop us from fighting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your network is not good, Ma'am Miley. So now I will then introduce Mr. Dr. Moïse Esso. Dr. Esso, vous êtes militant de l'UPC Manidem et vous êtes membre très actif de Stand Up for Cameroon. Vous êtes parmi ceux qui militent pour une résolution de la crise anglophone depuis un peu plus de 4 ans déjà. Alors, je voudrais vous poser la question, hein, comme vous venez à la fin pour en guise de conclusion, quelles leçons de la discussion de ce soir est-ce que vous pouvez tirer pour le compte de Stand Up for Cameroon?
Bonjour and thank you, dear Baba, for the moderation. We attended to a quite consensual but rich debate. Et donc, je constate qu'en fait, tout commence toujours par le dialogue. Et ce que je tire de cette conférence, c'est la richesse des interventions et la profondeur aussi. C'est vrai qu'on pourrait penser que c'est consensuel, mais ce n'est pas si consensuel que ça, parce qu'il y a eu beaucoup de nuances qui ont été apportées par les uns et les autres. Et donc, je pense qu'en effet, quand on entend ce qu'on a entendu ce soir, on se dit qu'un autre Cameroun que celui que nous vivons est toujours possible et qu'il y a d'autres choix à faire. Et je pense d'ailleurs, c'est pour ça que au sein de Stand Up for Cameroon, on a lancé le concept de la transition politique. C'est une belle expression, la transition politique, dans laquelle chacun peut être tenté de mettre ce qu'il veut, mais c'est pourquoi c'est très important de préciser ce que ça signifie pour qu'il n'y ait pas d'équivoque. Au Stand Up for Cameroon, c'est aussi le but de ce 20 mai qui peut-être ne représente plus rien en réalité, mais justement il y a moyen de trouver d'autres solutions, d'autres dates. Alors, il faut dire que le Cameroun a vraiment, on a parlé aujourd'hui de reconciling the nation, réconcilier la nation. C'est vrai que le Cameroun a vraiment besoin d'être réconcilié parce qu'il a été sauvagement et mortellement déchiré par 60 ans de dictature néocoloniale, dont les 30 dernières années sont encore les plus terribles. Il a été déchiré par le régionalisme, notamment ce que nous venons d'en discuter, par le tribalisme, par la paupérisation des masses populaires et la concentration des richesses entre les mains d'une petite oligarchie. Il est déchiré par un conflit intergénérationnel aussi, puisque nous avons un régime gérontocratique qui pousse sa jeunesse à l'exil, faute d'avoir sur place le cadre pour exprimer son énergie, déchiré par le centre et la périphérie du pays. On a le nord-ouest, le sud-ouest, le grand nord et l'est, qui vont faire partie aussi du prochain débat sur la réconciliation de la nation dans les dialogues du 20 mai. Et il y a le centre, qui sont les 4 autres régions qui consomment les ressources qui viennent de la périphérie sans renvoyer vers la périphérie ce qui leur est nécessaire. Mais justement, quand on regarde ce tableau alarmant, on se dit, oulala, mais justement, il y a une solution, c'est la transition politique. Il y a donc moyen que les Camerounais se mettent ensemble, les Camerounais de toutes les origines, ceux qui sont dans les territoires anciennement colonisés sous mandat français, qu'on appelle francophones, les Camerounais des territoires anciennement sous mandat britannique, les Camerounais de toute tribu, de toute tendance politique, on peut se mettre ensemble pour repenser ce pays. C'est ça que nous voulons promouvoir dans Stand Up. Et je pense que pour répondre à Mimi Mefo qui demandait « on fait comment ?» Eh bien, justement, le problème, c'est qu'avec le régime d'aujourd'hui, il y a moyen de rien faire. C'est pourquoi la transition politique que nous proposons a 4 étapes, dont la première étape, c'est le départ de ce régime. Parce qu'en effet, on peut s'asseoir, on peut discuter ce qu'on veut, on peut même le faire en marge du gouvernement, comme le disait Mme Mélenchon tout à l'heure en disant on peut s'asseoir entre nous, ne pas attendre du gouvernement. Tant que ce régime est là, tout ce que nous allons produire sera sans effet. Et donc, l'étape 0, c'est d'abord de neutraliser politiquement ce régime. Évidemment, ça commence par sa tête. Et aussi, c'est la seule façon de nous assurer que tout ce que nous allons produire comme idée, comme discussion, comme résolution peut être effectif. Ensuite, la deuxième étape que la transition politique se propose de faire, c'est justement un dialogue comme celui que nous avons commencé aujourd'hui. Il faut savoir, je pense que c'est le docteur Foretia qui le disait, ou Mimi aussi, que Mme Mefo, qu'on ne peut pas, en une journée, on pourrait discuter pendant des années. Mais justement, dans le cadre d'une transition politique, il y aurait moyen de s'asseoir autour de la table et de prendre le temps qu'il faut. Parce que vraiment, il y a beaucoup de blessures, il y a beaucoup de frustrations, il y a beaucoup de questions qui nécessitent de la justice et qui nécessitent de la réparation qu'il faudra traiter dans ce cadre-là aussi. Et ce ne sera pas seulement la question anglophone, ça sera également les questions importantes qui concernent le pays, qui sont des questions de tribalisme, qui sont des questions de répartition des ressources. En fait, il faudra qu'on rediscute de ce pays, le refonder vraiment. Évidemment, tout ça va déboucher sur de nouvelles institutions, forcément une nouvelle république fédérale, à combien d'États. Toutes ces discussions, on ne peut les mener qu'en dehors de ce régime et dans le cadre d'une transition politique qui est donc un processus. Et à la fin de toutes ces institutions, de ces lois, forcément, il faudra revenir à la normale. Et le système le plus courant aujourd'hui, c'est encore les élections, mais des élections qui seront organisées dans un autre système. Vraiment, je pense que si nous voulons sauver le Cameroun, il ne s'agira pas de remplacer un homme par un autre ou de remplacer un appareil d'État, un régime par un autre régime. Il faudra qu'on change de système. Et si nous ne changeons pas de système, nous ne pourrons pas redonner aux Camerounais la joie et le goût de vivre. Nous ne pourrons pas restaurer ce pays. Nous ne pourrons pas le remettre sur les rails. C'est pourquoi Stand Up for Cameroun appelle vraiment toutes les forces politiques. Parce que quelqu'un a parlé tout à l'heure en disant il faut qu'on soit tous ensemble. En effet, il faut qu'on soit tous ensemble. Pourquoi est-ce que les gens sont indifférents? Parce qu'on se cristallise sur des individus. On se cristallise sur des attitudes partisanes et extrémistes. La majorité silencieuse, nous devons la mobiliser parce que c'est elle qui va remettre le pays sur les rails. Donc, la transition politique, c'est redonner le pouvoir au peuple camerounais et faire de lui le premier acteur de son propre destin et de sa refondation. C'est ça le processus de la transition politique. C'est pourquoi on ne peut pas rester en marge. Et d'ailleurs, c'est assez, je trouve que c'est plutôt encourageant quand on entend des leaders d'opinion, comme récemment encore l'avocate Mme Doki ou d'autres, qui commencent à tenir des discours qui vont dans ce sens-là. Parce que je crois qu'on va tourner en rond, on va revenir au même point. Pour le moment, il n'y a pas d'autre solution qu'une transition politique. Et je pense que c'est ça que ce débat d'aujourd'hui a montré. C'est qu'on a tellement de choses à dire. Mimi a parlé, et je l'entendais quand elle faisait sa conclusion. Il y a beaucoup de choses assez, à la fois qui sont d'ordre politique, qui sont d'ordre intellectuel, mais qui sont aussi d'ordre personnel, d'ordre affectif. Et nous avons besoin d'exprimer tout ça. Et on ne peut pas le faire avec un régime qui brime tout le temps les gens. On l'a tous dit ici, qui va empêcher qu'une petite conférence comme celle-ci ait lieu. On ne peut pas le faire dans ce cadre-là. Donc, il faut vraiment que le peuple camerounais se crée son cadre en mettant de côté ce régime.
Merci beaucoup, Dr Esso, pour cette conclusion qui nous permet de mieux comprendre ce que c'est que la transition politique telle que l'entend le mouvement Stand Up for Cameroon. À présent, on peut conclure cette discussion. Et à cet effet,
est-ce que je pouvais dire quelque chose, même si je n'étais pas intervenant, sur un petit mot sur la crise anglophone, car je n'en ai rien dit.
30 secondes.
Voilà. Non, je voulais quand même dire que Madame Mdeboum l'a dit tout à l'heure. Nous avons raté le coche de ce qu'est le Cameroun aujourd'hui. Le sentiment national camerounais a été chèrement acquis par la résistance de tout ce territoire contre l'oppresseur allemand. Et puis, on a été divisé par la Société des Nations qui nous a donné en mandat à 2 puissances occidentales. Et justement, le projet politique des pères nationalistes du Cameroun, notamment de l'UPC, dont vous avez dit tout à l'heure, dont je suis membre, c'était justement de faire la réunification d'abord. Et nous n'étions pas seuls. Il y avait le One Cameroun, il y avait beaucoup de partis du côté du Southern Cameroun. Et ce projet politique a été torpillé par des tenants de la ligne néocoloniale qui continuent de diriger le Cameroun jusqu'aujourd'hui. Donc, si nous avions réussi ce pari de nous réunifier d'abord et de prendre l'indépendance après, il n'y aurait pas eu 2 dates. Il n'y aurait pas eu un 1er janvier, un 1er octobre. Il y aurait eu une seule date, un même projet, au sein duquel la langue n'allait plus être le déterminant de la citoyenneté, mais ça allait être d'autres éléments, comme l'a rappelé Mdeboum, des éléments culturels, par exemple, où on allait redessiner ce pays autrement que comme les colons l'ont découpé. Nous avons raté ce coche parce que nous avons raté la guerre, puisqu'il y a eu une guerre, mais ce n'est que partie remise. Et je pense que le temps est venu pour le peuple camerounais de reprendre ce combat pour pouvoir réconcilier la nation.
Merci bien pour ce point complément additionnel sur la question. Donc, je vais également vous dire merci, en plus de la conclusion pour ce point. Now, let me thank you very much, dear participants, for having taken your time to share your views, your contributions, your thoughts on this topic tonight. I will also say thank you to the public for being here, for sharing the questions and being with us. I will also say thank you. I will also say thank you to Stand Up for Cameroon members for organizing this, being behind the scene for this. And also, thank you. Let me just remind us that this was the first of a series of 4 dialogues. It was on the Anglophone crisis. The next discussion will be on Saturday, the 23rd of May, it will be on the COVID-19 and how we address the issue, how we adapt to it. It will be as of 8 p.m. like today. And the next one will be on the northern regions, and the last one will be on the political transition. So this is something that we've started as all of us, we said we should start like that with people, making the numbers so that we become more and more huge to force our government to do what it should be doing for us. So thank you, and I don't know if I should say that, happy 20th of May. Good night. You can mute your microphone and say bye-bye.
No, not happy 20 May. Bye-bye, just bye-bye.
Just bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
No,
Bye.
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 How do we end this?